Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Digital Painting Art Show. My name is Conde, and today we're going to be doing the shadows and lighting of this ship. We're going to be doing some color proposals, and we're going to be doing kind of like the final rendering in a small area, like the tip of the ship, but you can have an idea of what all it will look like at the end. So let's get started. Okay guys, so we're going to start by doing the cast shadow of the ship. So for this we need to know where a light is coming from. In this case it's coming from the top right corner of the screen. So we're going to create a new layer, and we're just going to paint with black right now. Later we're going to change some of those colors, but for right now I just want to imagine how the shadow is being cast in the other surfaces, and we're just going to paint with black. Of course, that layer that we're using is going to be a clipping mask. If you don't know what a clipping mask is, you can just click on this link right here, and that will take you to another video. But please come back later to keep watching this one, or you can watch them later if you want. Anyway, the thing that we have to do is just imagine how this light is being cast by the light, how the shadow is being cast by this light, and the objects that are kind of like getting in the way of the light to be able to cast this shadow. It's kind of like a complex thing to do when you're starting. You just have to you get better at it just doing it, and try to analyze. When you're working a lot of with 3D, it gets a bit easier, because you get used to move the lighting and do changes in lighting all the time. And when you do the render test, you kind of get an idea, you kind of imagine how it's going to look like even before you hit the render button. But for people that is just learning, I would recommend to be really aware of how the lights play in the real world, like where's the light coming from, or how does the shadow look like in other places, depending on the shape of the place that the shadow is getting to, like the object where the shadow is getting to. I could have done it with the 3D, like if you saw the last episode, I had a 3D model made, and I could kind of get an idea where the shadows could be. Of course, it didn't have all this crazy detail, but you could get an idea kind of how the shadow could be. But I wanted to do, I know some of the people are kind of like against those tricks, like against the saving time techniques, so I wanted to do this one more like full painting. So I'm doing the shadows by hand, and I'm going to do everything by hand. Anyway, now we're gonna have to do the highlights, because this shape is a cylinder. If you want to know a bit more about lighting, you can click in this video right here, and you can see some of the concepts that we are talking about here. So now we're going to talk about the highlights, and this highlight looks like this because it's a cylinder shape. I also talk about that in that video. Now this one is a plane shape. It's more like it doesn't have any roundness to it, so the highlights are more open and plain. There's no like bright spots. Everything is kind of like everything is a bright spot. And here, to do this kind of like a shadow, I'm just erasing some of the highlights that I do. Of course, these highlights should point to the source of light, that is up there, and we kind of have to be aware of that all the time. And in the other video, you also will notice that I talk about occlusion, which is that I'm doing right now. I'm not doing it too accurate, like I'm just doing it a little bit to kind of have the idea, but I'm gonna have to remake a lot of stuff and repaint a lot of stuff later. I'm just doing like the big ones, the big occlusion shadows, which is where the light cannot get. If you don't know anything about that, just watch the video I mentioned you. It's about lighting basics, and this is kind of what I need right now to do the next step, which is making the color proposals. So for this step, what I did was resize everything and put all the layers of the shadow together, all the layers of the line art together, all the mask that I made of the gray, the silhouette of the ship together, so I could paint really easy without any difficulties on top of this. I didn't want to go too crazy with the proposals, just doing kind of like because this really remembered me to the prequel movies, which I loved them when I was a kid, like, well, not a kid, but like younger. But now that I see them with different eyes, it's more like I don't like them too much. I like them, but not I don't love them like before. So this kind of like a patterns of colors remember me of the prequels. I didn't want to get too much on that, and so I kind of got stuck here with really basic laying of colors without calling too much attention. Because if you notice the old Star Wars movies, they didn't have too much difference in colors. Maybe there's one red ship with a white stripe, that's it. That's like the most color I've seen on a Star Wars movie. Well, at least in the big ships. So I didn't want to get too far from that, and I think this combination of colors, and this is the one that I really like the most. So that's the one that I got stuck in with the first one, the yellow with the white. Well, it's kind of like a burnt yellow. And the one of the right seemed to kind of like an army thing with the green. Was kind of the idea, but then really called my attention the first one again. And also remembers me the colors of BB-8 a little bit, so I think I really like them because of that. So then I just copy the colors and I just paste it to the final painting layer. The final painting file. You can see the difference in size. I have to resize it and repaint some stuff, of course, to match the proportions. And now we come to the fun stuff. So I'm going to paint this using a brush without any transfer. This is a solid brush. It has shape dynamics. If you want to know more about this technique, before watching the next of this tutorial, you can click on this video and it will explain what I do with the how do I blend the colors. This is a question that a lot of people asks. It's actually really easy, but it takes a lot of effort with the hand, and a lot of people don't get used to that, but I really recommend this technique because you actually learn better, I think, to blend the colors. While when you let the computer blend the colors by itself, like using soft brushes and stuff like that, doesn't look the same for me. This technique has kind of like a more traditional feeling to it. So right now what I'm trying to do is just take bright colors to make the highlights. I'm trying to keep in mind always the shape of the thing and kind of where the light source is coming from. You can never forget where the light source is coming from. If you do that, you will be lost in your painting. And just pull back and watch it from the distance to see how can you make the painting better, like all the time, and making little decisions. Right now I'm in a phase of this painting that I just have to put the hours on it. Like I just have to paint detail and detail, and try to make this part or that part look the best that it can look. because I will never go back to that part again, at least not like I'm doing it right now, which is I'm taking a lot of time on it. If I go back to a part of the ship, will be like to add even more detail, but it shouldn't look like it's not finished. You always, if you have this already, like this stage, you should be always looking forward to finishing the painting, instead of just testing and keep testing and keeps testing. Of course, you're gonna have to do changes later. The ideal thing will be to start with a really blurry painting, but that's when you're painting with colors only. Right now I'm using a line art, and that's what I made the line art for. Even that the line art is not too, it doesn't have extreme definition, it has some details, and what you can do is just make them better. You should always be looking forward to make the painting better. While if you are painting with only color, which is, I think, is more let's not say difficult, it's just another technique, but it's more, requires more kind of like, some people will say that it makes you free because you can do whatever you want, but I will say actually the opposite, because you can have the same feeling of freedom when you're drawing and know when you're painting, because when you're painting, you put in the colors on it, you already have everything figured out. And if you want to add something, well, you can add it too, there's no problem with it. But when you're painting with only color, it's like you will never know when to finish. You just keep adding, and that's okay. A lot of people that like technique, there's no problem with it. I just think I'm actually use that technique a lot, but I think that doing it this way with a line art is actually more under control, what you can achieve, and you can always show to the client or show the art director or whatever you're working for the line art, because if they understand your work and the way you work, and they actually know about this, they will approve something in line art even before getting the color done. Or maybe you could make a really rough idea of what the thing will be with colors, like we did earlier in this video. But I think doing the details like this in lines is way better in the long term, because you already have something that you just have to put the hours on, and when you're working with colors, you can have a lot of time spent on the painting without even getting to know what state you are. Okay, so as I was saying, the goal for me here will be illustrations that I saw a long time ago in books, Star Wars books, of course. They were mostly about ships, and there will be this huge painting with huge amount of detail. So that's my goal here. I just want to make a painting with full detail, kind of like looks the same as in the books, and that's only the reason I'm doing just the tip of the ship, is because you can imagine now how much time it will take me to finish the actual painting. It will be a lot of time, and I will do it, but just not in the tutorial, because it will be like super long. Other thing you have to keep thinking always is the material you're working on. This is metal, so you should have some reflections, but it's actually old metal. It has to look old. Right now it looks more like a NASA kind of thing, like really polished and clean. So later in this video we're going to make it a little bit dirtier to kind of match the style of the Star Wars that I'm trying to look for here, which is the original style of Star Wars, with everything is kind of like have like an old feeling to it. Here I'm going to do some reflections for the windows, but I didn't want to reflect an exact place. I wanted to do kind of like something that you could feel like he's glass, but not realistic glass. Like, because I remember the paintings that I'm telling you, they really look more like drawings instead of like super detailed material concepts. And they look more like sketchy and more like drawings, kind of like a painted traditionally, and it looks. I think it looks really, really cool. So I wanted to kind of like a capture that same feeling, you know, like having an illustration from those books. It will be way cooler to make the inside of the ship too. Well, it will take an incredible amount of time to do also. So now I wanted to try something a little bit more like a second reflection on the glass, and I'm just doing that with a soft brush. It's a really easy process once you do it yourself for the first time and learn how to do it. Here I'm trying to erase a little so we can have some shadow on it. So if you watch the video of the blending, you'll notice that this is kind of like a really long process, because that blending technique, what require is that you had a lot of speed on your hand, and that's the part that most people don't want to do. Like they want the easy approach, and I'm sorry, but this is not easy work to do. It's really, really not difficult. It's not the word. I will say well, it just takes time. That's it. When you get to do it like professionally, you get over the time part, and you just concentrate on producing all the time. Obviously you remember, you're never going to avoid the time conversation, because the clients will ask you when it will be done. But it's more like you're already kind of going to know where it's going to be done, when it's going to be done. Here I'm adding a backlight for those who didn't saw the video yet. That's going to be explained on that video. A backlight that is kind of on the left and the back left. Anyway, right now I'm just adding a lot of lines and stuff like that to add the sensation of detail that it doesn't have. More like extra details on some parts, but it really doesn't have that much. Anyway, when you already working on this professionally, you get over the time part, in the sense of oh man, this is going to take so much time to do. It's gonna be more like, you know how much it's going to take, and you're just going to accept it, and that's it. You're just gonna work on it until it's done. While in the beginning, a lot of people really lose the motivation to finish a painting because of the time it takes. But you're learning. I mean, what were you expecting? It's something that you have to learn, and something that is going to happen. You're going to get discouraged. You're going to lack motivation, but you just have to keep doing it, like with how do I call that, discipline. Something neat that I do sometimes is I put a timer, and if I cannot finish a painting because it's taking so much time and I get bored, I just put myself to do a little bit of amount of progress every day, at least 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. But what matters is you keep doing it, and because if you keep doing it, even when you don't want to do it, what's going to happen is you're going to build momentum. You're going to build the strength to finish that painting. And you have to be true to yourself and tell yourself this painting is not finished yet. You have to finish. It's not finished yet. Don't post it anywhere. Don't show it to anyone or something like that until it's not finished. And ask critics. You can ask for critics to your peers or your friends, artistic friends, and even the no artistic friends also. They will notice things that you won't notice in a million times. Anyway, this is kind of it for today's tutorial. Here I'm adding a little bit more of highlights to make it more dramatic in the lighting. But this is it. I really hope you liked this episode. It was really fun. I will try to finish this painting as soon as I can. But as I say, when the painting is huge, I just take a little bit of time every day to finish, and I really don't know when it's going to be done. But it will be done. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links are in the description. And if you want to download this PSD, this image, so you can use the liner yourself or test your skills trying to follow this tutorial, you just gotta be my Patreon. And it's only $2 the month, and you can download the PSD files, and you can download an extra video that you're not watching right now, because it has a lot of stuff that I had to cut because of the time of the videos. So I will be uploading every week all the tutorials that I do. I upload an extra video on my Patreon, and I upload the PSD file and another stuff sometimes, like sketches and stuff like that. So anyway, please be my Patreon so you can download these materials and use the line art yourself and see the PSD by yourself. And also follow my Facebook page. You just click on the links that are in the description. Thank you very much, and see you next week.